Hey Street Talks, what's up? This is Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. I wanted to do a quick video on why you should not go to photography or art school. So this is mostly directed if you're watching this and you're 12, 13, 15, 16, 18, 21, or even if you're older, like in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, don't matter. You should never go to photography or art school if you're gonna go into debt. Debt is slavery. You're gonna end up working jobs and doing shit you don't want for the 20, 30 years just to pay off your debt. Even since ancient times, all philosophers have said the number one thing to avoid in life is debt. So even if you get a partial scholarship, I would actually recommend not going because, you know, if you go to a private art school and they're subsidizing half your tuition, don't go because let's say, you know, the average art student gets $200,000 in debt. Think about how much more shit you could do with $200,000. You could travel the world, you could, in theory, live in Vietnam or Southeast Asia for like 10, 20, 30 years, depending on how cheap you live. You could use that money to start your own business, your own consulting firm, your own freelance, and think more about entrepreneurial opportunities. Another thing to consider is that you can learn everything you want about art or photography online. I mean, you guys are watching this on YouTube, and you could just YouTube anything technical about photography. I personally did not go to photography school, and everything I learned about my photography is self-taught. And granted, you know, I'm not the world's best photographer, but I've certainly made a pretty good living off of photography is because I didn't approach it just from a purely artistic standpoint. A lot of photographers or art school kids, they end up entering this bubble and they think, oh, if I'm just a good artist, I can make it in the real world. The sad truth is no, you need to learn how to actually do business and learn how to market yourself. And the truth of making a living as an artist or a photographer or whatever, about 90% of it is marketing, advertising, branding, and having business sense. So even me, like I make my living teaching workshops, from selling products. Thanks to Cindy for helping me. And the biggest benefit I had was studying sociology as an undergrad. I went to UCLA and studying sociology helped me understand human behavior, helped me understand marketing. And in my free time, I just studied business books. I learned the importance of charging more for your services than you think you're worth. So let's say you want to start doing wedding photography. Don't go into debt. Just use whatever cheap DSLR or whatever camera you have. Offer to shoot weddings for free on Craigslist or whatever. Once you build up your portfolio, charge more money than you think you're worth, because one thing I learned about business marketing, if you charge more for a service, people actually think it's worth more. So for example, if you have a headache, you're gonna buy the $10 Tylenol, not the $1 generic, because psychologically speaking, we think the $10 medicine is gonna work better because it's more expensive. Similarly, if you only charge like $100 to shoot a wedding, they're gonna think you're very low quality. I would say, if you're gonna start shooting your own weddings or your commercial work, start at least $1,000. And as your career progresses, keep charging more money, because it's going to signal to other people that you have confidence in yourself. And before you're able to charge good money, make sure you have a good portfolio and a good body of work, but just don't sell yourself cheap. I also recommend, instead of going to photography or art school, learn everything on your own and start your own photography blog. You could use WordPress.com, Tumblr, you could just post it to Facebook. I actually recommend going to Bluehost.com, starting your own WordPress.org blog. This way you'll have a lot more freedom and people can find you online. So even one thing I'll teach you guys about marketing and the internet, there's something called SEO, stands for search engine optimization. The basic concept is, how are people gonna find who you are? 99% of people in the world use Google. Most people who find me and my blog is through Google, searching street photography or whatnot. It's not like you're giving money to Google and they rank you higher. It's the more useful information you create, the higher you're gonna rank in Google and YouTube and whatnot. You might not know how to blog or what to write about. So my suggestion is treat it kind of like a self-learning experience where as you're learning, self-learning yourself, share what you're learning with others. And so for me, when I started learning about photography, street photography, it was all just teaching myself what I wanted to know. So all these like photographers would like pretentiously name drops like, oh, oh, Eric, what do you think about William Eggleston or Alex Webb or Alex Soth and Henri Cartier-Bresson, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like nodding my head like I know what they're talking about, but in reality I have no idea who they're talking about. So I don't want to look like an idiot. So I start searching the internet for, who's Alex Soth and why is he important? Can't find any practical information on how to make better photos by studying him. And so I just, I bought a bunch of his books, I started listening to his interviews, and I just started to write a blog post on what I personally learned from him. And that started the whole Learn from the Masters of Photography. Just Google Learn from the Masters of Photography Eric Kim. You'll find lots of really useful information. And even at this point in my life, I have enough money to live very comfortably. I just wear the same black outfit every single day. I have the internet, I have my laptop, my camera. I eat eggs and vegetables mostly. And so think about yourself, like, what is your end game with studying art or photography? Is it to make a living doing photography or art? It might be a better strategy to get a 9-to-5 day job so you're actually not stressed out about finances and pursuing your passion on the side, because no matter how smart, talented, or skilled you are, a lot of it is luck. Obviously, the harder you work and the more hustle you have, the luckier you're gonna get. And I do believe you could create your own opportunities. Like in baseball, the more you swing your bat, the more likely you are to get a home run. So remember to just be practical about it. So if you're in school, even if you decide to go to art school, whatever, think about how you could survive in the real world, because unfortunately, the real world is a pretty cruel place that they don't give a shit about you and your art. So figure out a way that, number one, you could pay the rent. So I recommend, if you're an undergrad student, get as many internships as you can, because that's going to help you get a real job after you graduate, and then pursue your passion on the side. Or if you're really crazy, just think about how you could make a move to Southeast Asia, borrow $1,000 from your parents and see if you can just pursue your art on the side. But anyways, I'll include lots of links and resources below. Hopefully they could help you out. But just know that for the most part, photography schools and art school, it's kind of a ripoff. Having said that though, if you're able to go to art school or photography school for free, 100% gratis, go for it, because you could just milk the system. Otherwise, if you're gonna go into debt, please, please, please don't do this. And this includes all higher education. All right, thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna have some more coffee. Peace out.